Olá a todos, bem-vindos a mais um direto do podcast Consensual. Hoje a conversa vai ser em inglês, espero que todos compreendam. Eu também conto começar a legendar os episódios que estão, pelo menos os que estão no YouTube. Não sei se vou conseguir legendá-los aqui, mas acho que não. Portanto, os que estão no YouTube e os que vão estar, e depois vão estar também no site SIMAS-eres.com, vão começar a ser legendados para que todos possam perceber. So, thank you all for coming and for being here. Let's see if I can put you. Let me see. Okay. Hello.
Hi. So,
Hi.
do you hear me well?
Yes. I can hear you. Do you hear me well also?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's good.
Okay, so we'll try like this. Let's see if it's okay. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for accepting my invitation. We'll be talking in English because it's more you're more accustomed to it, but you understand Portuguese also, right?
Yes, I understand Portuguese, but I speak really badly. That's why I prefer English.
How long are you in Portugal?
Almost 10 years.
10 years.
Already.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for being that lazy. Yeah. I know it's totally my fault.
Okay.
Yes.
No problem. I was saying that I will be putting subtitles in these episodes in YouTube, so people will understand anyway. Okay, so thank you very much for being here. Everybody can leave their comments and their questions in the comments if you like. And so I would like to ask you to present yourself because I think it's simpler. You can say anything you want.
So my name is Mistress Elena, and this is the name of me being a professional dominatrix. And I do domination, like female domination, for several years. Before starting to be a professional dom, and then several years I'm doing it professionally. So yeah, I have a studio in Lisbon area that you have visited already.
Yeah.
I'm now
complete now.
I don't know.
You have
I think I haven't added anything.
Oh.
No, I only did. I think I did shower after you came here, but overall it's all the same rooms. Okay. Yeah. But I always add a lot of new stuff. I always buy new equipment, toys, so it's totally always growing. So
can you explain a little bit how did you distribute your areas? How do you compose them?
Do you mean in what I'm doing?
No, the areas of your studio, they have several different themes. Can you describe them a little bit?
Yes, I have the one main big room with the Andrew's cross and the cage. It's really looking very fetish type. I have a medical room for medical fetish sessions. I have a feminization room. And I have kind of a socializing room, this one, which I'm now presenting from. I do workshops here, and I also can make some fetish dinners, fetish tea parties here. So, yeah, that's it. So far, I still have some space.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question is what made you be interested in this area, in BDSM? How did you become a dom?
Actually, it was it was not planned at all. I just read some article or some blog, and I had a lot of stereotypes about dominatrixes. I was sure that it is something to please men, to something very sexual, always involving sex. So I was thinking it was all around men rather than women. And then I read an article about a professional dominatrix in the US and what was her job about. And I was like, oh, wow, this is something that I want to do. You know, I was immediately hooked by this presentation. And I did not have any knowledge, didn't have anything, never tried it, never tried anything. So I just started to dig in. I was already in Portugal. So I was very happy and lucky to meet right people. So they kind of, I was at the Dom Academy and I met some people. They told me what it is about and how I can start. And a good thing was that it was bad, but it was good for me that it started the COVID time and everybody started to teach online. So I had an opportunity to get workshops and personal consultations from the best BDSM educators in the world. So yeah, and this is how I got into this. And I was not even planning to be professional, you know.
Yeah. And what was the tricky or the main reasons or the main things that tricked your interests? What did you read in that article or heard that made you really invest in this? Because a lot of people do this just for fun or just to experience, but you really invest in this as a profession.
Well, the thing is, I did it, I don't know, I think 3 or something years. I did it just for fun, just because I liked it. I met people, I met submissives, I met friends, and I loved it so much. Probably the main thing in the beginning was this feeling of power, the feeling of empowerment that you get, someone who is pleasing you, doing everything for you, and you becoming to feel a real queen. So that feeling was so interesting for me and so strong that I was really hooked. I wanted to do it more and more often. And in the beginning, I did not really feel I'm succeeding. I understood that I'm doing something wrong. So only after I was learning, I was taking classes, I was practicing a lot. It was at least 3 years until I really allowed myself to call a professional and started to, to make professional sessions. And before that, I was not even sure that I can do this because it is such a huge, there's so much knowledge around of domination about BDSM that you should know before actually working with clients. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel that it's a reciprocate thing? I mean, you have to, or when you find the right submissive or the right partner, you learn more because of what they give you. Like, do you feel this, or you think that, or you think that you can be a dom to anyone and do everything to anyone?
Well, when I started, of course, that was very important to meet right people, to meet right submissives, those that invested their time and effort, and some of them were even teaching me back, telling me something, that was very important. Now that I'm so experienced, I meet so many subs and meet new people every week, I think I can play almost with everyone, but they should be, of course, their kinks and fetishes should be within my limits because I have my own limits. But actually, yes, I can play with anyone, but before the play, I should have a very extensive conversation with this person to understand him. Because if I understand the person, if I know his weaknesses, if I know what works on him, I can dominate him. If I don't know him, I will not be able to do this.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I found that about myself when I experience things in BDSM, and I learned that the right person brings out in you some things that you most times don't even know that you have. And I felt a big responsibility when I was put in the role of Dom, not just to feel power in the other person, or I mean, feel empowered to overpower the other person, but just to find ways of pleasuring her, but without her knowing how. You know, just how do I surprise this person? How do I touch her pleasure spots in her brain and in her body? And so I have to really know her, and I have to really study her before, so I can do that. You think that's really important to know the person and to see how can you correspond to expectations and to surpass expectations, or to frustrate, because frustration is also a big part of BDSM.
Yeah, the thing is, when you are a lifestyle dom, I mean, a dom that is not taking money, is not doing it professionally, right? When you're a lifestyle dom, you can select subs, you can select those that you have the best connection, you like the person, you like to touch him, you really build this connection only with those people that you want to. But when you start to do it professionally, it's just a completely different thing. And you cannot choose that much of people. You cannot say, okay, you have 10 clients and 9 of them I don't like, so only 1. Okay, well, I can do this, right? But it's always the balance. And with time and with experience, I started to understand, and also due to my education, I started to understand the patterns of behavior. Yeah. Now I can classify every client, and I have my own system of classification, like the degree of submissiveness, for example, or what kind of fetish they have, if they like or not feminization. And then there are several criteria that I have in a different degree. I can already understand what kind of things will work on this person. So I believe that I have a very, very good psychological knowledge of these people that come to me.
That's very important. Yeah. So my other question was, how have you found yourself, or what did you feel the first times that you were put in that position? What did you discover about yourself in this role?
Well, I think it's the same way that I teach women, and I teach a lot of women to dominate. And I must say one thing. There's a lot of people that saying, oh, you need to be born a dominant, right? You need to have some kind of personality. And I believe this is a bullshit. Everyone can dominate, okay? And for me, that was the discovery and the change of my own personality. Because it's the way how you start feeling yourself more calm, more confident, really powerful, queenish, you know, this kind of a queen energy that you start to feel, and you become stronger. You know, when you every time see often how people are worshiping you, how people are giving power over them, and you learn how to deal with this power in the best possible way. So
you also learn how to deal with the consequences of the power, right?
Of course, because
it makes you more responsible for that.
It's always comes hand in hand. The power means responsibility, right? Yeah. You can't have control of a person and not control his health, his well-being, his psychological state. You need to control everything. So my message to women that come to me to learn female domination is that learn these things. learn these techniques, learn how to look and act and be the dominant, and it will help you in life. It will help you far beyond the bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, and this is true. They told me it did help them. The tricks and advice that I gave them.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, that's also very important to bring the erotic experience outside the room, outside the bedroom. You know, it's really interesting. I love to not just to experience, but to study this lifestyle, because it brings out a lot of interesting ideas to how not just put sex in the box, sex in the time, sex in the place, and put sex in the mind, sex in the feelings, in the criteria of our actions. And so I think it has a lot of things to teach us.
The interesting thing, the curious in what you're saying is that there is actually no physical sex in what I'm doing, right? I do not.
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. Yeah.
So it's all in the mind. Everything is in the mind.
How do you manage? I mean, my question was my question was if BDSM was sexual for you or just erotic, because I know that there's no physical or sexual interaction between you and your clients, but do you use it, or does it happen in your private life? Do you mix the things, or do you think it's just the power dynamics are just for stimulating and not to get it on?
Well, the thing is, yes, there is a lot of erotic power that I'm working with, because one of the ways how I control men, and this is a very feminine type of energy, is seducing. I need to seduce a guy to control him. And for me, my philosophy is that a feminine power is not in seducing and having sex with the guy. The feminine power is in seducing and never give him what he wants. So that is my personal psychology. And you know that you and many other people do not agree with that. Like, oh no, this is fine. You can mix sex and domination. Well, for me, it's not something that I can mix, even in my personal life. And I always say, couples, you know what? The couples that I teach, you know what? You can't do this because, well, it's up to you. But my philosophy is that. And I recommend to have sex as aftercare after the domination session. But this is my view. And there is a lot of people that will not agree with me.
Yeah. No, I think I think we had this conversation before. I think it's as you were saying, it's a feminine thing to seduce and promise and never give. So your power is to make it a prize. He has to earn it. He has to work for it. And as a man dom, the intention is, because it's very easy for men to give and to want. It's to retard or to how do you say, to put more difficulties into the happening of of sex. So we are both trying to delay the sex, but for different reasons. Women because men want it a lot, and women know, so they delay it. And men because the submissive women know that the man wants, and he is going to delay it. So the gesture is the same, but the intention is different, I think.
Well, my belief is that is the essence of male domination, to really capture and own and have sex with. That is a very male-ish energy. So for me, on the female side, to a big extent, you kind of lose your power when you surrender. This is what I feel.
Yeah.
But again, this is my philosophy.
Yeah, but I think both of us we are agreeing because it's different for men and women, and I agree with you. But I think it becomes a very personal thing when people have their own experience, because one of the things that I think it's really important when we are dealing with this kind of dynamics, of power dynamics, of self-control and control of others, also have a lot of I think it's also much more based in our life experience. How do we become this? What we expect from this? What are we willing to give to this game or to these dynamics? Because I know a lot of people who live and do this not as professionally but as a lifestyle, and a lot of them are like dealing with traumas or shames or things that are not really healed in themselves, and so they try to find another way to just don't give it all on sex. Just how can I bring my erotic fantasies or my erotic universe to a fetish session or to a dominating session or to a bondage session. And so I deal with a lot of couples mainly that try this to find other ways than just to I don't want to have sex tonight, or I don't want to give myself or surrender or just to be really a predator that wants sex every time. So how can I deviate my interests in erotic senses, but not just for sex? And so, as I was saying in the beginning, there's a lot of possibilities here to explore. Yeah. You were saying?
No, I just wanted to say that for me, and I think you will agree with me, that sex is happening in the mind, first of all, not in genitals, right?
Yeah.
So I can see how I can really fuck the mind of people when I just talk to them and, like, you know, whisper them the deepest fantasies that they had, you know? Like, and sometimes it is so much intuitive.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I don't know if I can be a little bit like in Instagram and tell you some details, but it was like recently I just doing the flog into a guy and just come to him and to the ear and started to whisper him, like, imagine I have a submissive girl and what she would do to you from the other side, you know? And he was completely like blown by this fantasy, and he did not tell me even. It just came to me because sometimes I just feel what they think. I just have this intuition developed. But these kind of words, they are so real. It's like hypnosis, actually. I hypnotize them sometimes, whispering their fantasies in the mind, in the head, and in the ear, whispering what I'm going to do to them and what kind of experience they will be, what they will do to me, how I change everything, you know? We are living this fantasy, and it is all real when I do.
And what you're saying is really interesting, because I also feel that there's a component really important in this interaction, that is attention. When you give attention to someone and that someone gives you attention, you really can almost read their mind and have that connection that goes straight to the sweet spot of the brain, and how can you work those fantasies and work that imagination. And so the attention and the presence is really, I think it's really important also. I mean, it's a thing that happens in this kind of interaction because you really have to be there for the other person. Right?
Yes, it's actually very, very important thing. One of the most important things for the dominant to be empathic, right? To know what another person thinks and feels. And it also happens with knowledge, with psychological knowledge, with some experience, but it's also the essence of domination, to have such a control over a person, to control him at all levels. And I always say, I control a person at the session on the physical level, his body, when he's, what he's doing, right? His mind, what he's thinking, what he should think about. I telling him, I make him think about specific things. And I control him mentally, emotionally. I control him emotionally. I control what he feels, whether he's scared or he's excited or some other things, you know? So, on these three levels, this control is happening the whole session. And that's the essence of domination, because I am super focused on the person, and that's why I can read the mind sometimes, and I feel what he feels.
Just to read one comment here, Jerlina, I think, wrote, in the best form, BDSM femdom heals trauma, in the worst, it enhances them. It's an interesting minefield, but also full of possibilities. Yeah, and that was what we were saying. He also says whispers and ISMs are the spear point of sensuality. Have you done ISMR, the whispering in microphone?
Not really. It's more, I would rather say it's something online fetish play rather than something on the session. But I must tell you one thing. I never use music at my sessions. I never use music, because for me, silence is very important. I want a submissive to hear every single word, even if I whisper. And I want to hear every single moan or word or whatever he says. So music is always mixing up with me. I never use it. This is just one thing.
That's really interesting. With my experience, or in my experience, also the sounds when you touch on something that's metallic, or your heels, or something that's the sounds also have a really interesting importance in being in the moment where you're surrounded. And I think the ISMR, it almost does that, because there's a lot of things, not just speaking, but when you close your eyes and just put your ears in, if for instance, if you blindfold someone and the ears try to find you and try to guess what you're doing, and that creates anxiety, expectations, and it builds up the erotic sensation.
Yeah, I can tell you even more is that I'm trying to use all the senses of a person that's coming to me. This is very important. It's also one of the tricks of hypnosis. I talk a lot to people, and I talk sometimes about involving different senses. You know, I'm explaining things, like I'm making him sniff, I'm making him hear, and making him touch. Especially it is important for fetishists. You know, they want to, to have the experience in all of his senses. And the same way in sensorial deprivation, yes, when you remove the eyes, remove the sights, and sometimes even hearing, then you can increase other senses, right? So yeah, I work a lot with that as well.
Yeah, I recommend people do that even if they are not in BDSM, because the senses are really a really amazing thing to explore. Yeah. I was just seeing if more people. Follow me closer said, all the senses are triggers for me too. The silence, the details, the scents, the views. Yeah. And so I would like to ask you also, what is the main thing that people ask you about, or go to you to experience? Do you have a lot of people who have special fetishes, or just throw themselves at your hands?
well, as I call myself, a classic dominatrix is the one that is not doing escort work, is not doing role play dominatrix, right? And I have my own limits. So there are practices that I'm doing, and I would say that requests are quite well distributed among all of the things that I'm doing. I have, because of this classic domination that I offer, I have a lot of people that are real submissives. Because, you know, there are people that are really submissive in the play, not in life. And they want to really give control over them to someone powerful, to a woman. And there are people that just want to play a little bit, you know? They just want me to be looking like a dom, but not really controlling them, not really dominating them. It's like a role play, and I call them dom fetishes. There are a lot of these people, and they just tell me, okay, I have a fantasy and I want to do this, or they just want to, you know, get excited by the wheel. And my share of these clients is really small. It's because of my offer, and I have a lot of real submissive people. And among these people, there are some variation. There can be very many variations of requests. For example, some people like impact play, some people like bondage, some people like feminization, some people like anal play. Sometimes they come to me and they can give me a lot of different things in the plate, but what I start talking to them about is that what are the target emotions, what you want to feel. And only after that, we will start talking about practices, you know. So everything depends on the psychology, what they want to talk about.
Do you feel differences between Portuguese people and, you know, I know that you go to other countries. Do you feel that there's any particularity differences?
Well, I must tell you that even here I'm playing mostly with foreigners, and it's not because of the language, because Portuguese people are super educated and most of people know English, but the problem is finances. You know very well, Portugal, unfortunately, not the richest country in Europe, and so I play more with foreigners because of that. But I would not say that there is such a big difference. Maybe one of the things that is more often here is that because country is small and everybody knows each other, you know, people are much more shameful, trying to be like, so nobody knows what they're doing. They kind of hiding these things. There are more requests for feminization because it is more shameful here to, you know, to be gender fluid or to try these things, you know, than let's say in Germany. If I go some other countries where it is very common and people are very open about the kings, there are much less requests for feminization, for example. Here, more often because it's more hidden. So this kind of teams, but I can't say that there is a huge difference comparing to other people. Yeah.
Jalina is asking a question here, but I can summarize the part that I think it's more interesting. Not so specific, but do you think do you agree to any kind of role play, or are you always Mistress Elena and the other person is the person?
Of course I do role play. Yeah, of course. It's actually very it's a lot of fun and gives a lot of creativity. And there are very common fantasies that people have, you know, like a boss and employee, for example, or a nurse and a patient, or teacher and a pupil. So these are probably the most often role play requests that I get.
The example that Jelena gave was Baroness and Peasant Boy.
No, I didn't have it. But I'll tell you one thing about role play is that it's really helping DOMs that are just starting. Lifestyle, professional, doesn't matter. Role play really helps to know what to do. Because when you are in the role gives you words, the role explains you how you should behave, you know. If you are a teacher, there are so many things that you can do because you know what teachers are usually doing, right? And the same about boss. But with time, when I became more and more experienced and I know what to do and how to do, what to say, I do not need a role to, you know, to make the person believe me. This is actually what these young doms are doing. They cannot make submissive believe that they are dominant. So when they're in the role, it's more convincing for them. So I don't really need it. So very often I'm just a dom at the session. You know, I'm just a Mistress Elena, and that's it. And that's what I do now.
Zita is asking, have you ever wanted to quit the job and got overwhelmed by other people's requests?
I don't understand the question actually.
Did you ever felt overwhelmed with all this
requests,
universe and requests? Yeah.
Well, so far no, but I know that professional doms are having burns out. They burn out sometimes. They are kind of tired, exhausted, and there are special techniques how to avoid this. I don't think I would ever really burn out here in Portugal, just because, you know, it cannot be even the main source of income, unfortunately, just because the country is small, the market is small. But there's always a way to avoid this kind of burnout when you remove practices that you don't like and you only do them for money. Then you remove them, you don't do them, and then you don't burn out. You really do what you like. And also not choosing to play with people that you don't like. You don't like the energy. This is one way, and another way is just raising prices.
Yeah, yeah. You talked about the Dom Academy that you went. It's not an academy, it's not a school, it's an event, right?
In Portugal, yes.
Yeah. And I know that you also, you talked about it, you also have organized events to teach women how to dom. How is that going? How did that start to happen, and what's the feedback that you have?
First, can I make a small advertising? Because I will have the Femdom event in the mid-July. And this is the first time that I do really big Femdom party. So I really invite everyone who is interested to come and participate. But I must tell you that, yes, I teach a lot of people, and I teach either it is a woman that comes and wants to learn how to dominate, either it is for her own desire, or maybe there is something that there's there's a couple and they have some kind of fantasies about it. And also I teach couples so that come to me and want to learn how to do things. And when I have a couple, when a woman wants to dominate, I do a lot of psychological teaching. So I teach the psychology first, and then we go into practice. But if it is a man who wants to learn how to dominate, I tell him, you know what, I don't know the psychology. Well, I mean, I know the psychology, but I cannot teach it, okay? So I only teach practices. So I can talk about flogging and how to do impact play safely, or how to use a bondage and how to do sensorial things, you know? So this is what I do. And there's, well, I would say that there's quite a lot of people interested in this, yes.
Portuguese people?
Both Portuguese and foreigners that come here. Yes, sometimes I do double dome sessions when a couple comes to me and they want some kind of a training. So I do a little bit of theory, and then we have a double dome session when I do the domination and she's helping me. She's also doing this and training. So I really love this kind of sessions, you know. I do at the same time, I dominate the guy and I teach a woman. So it's real fun. It's real fun.
Really interesting. And so what do you think that you can do in the future more to help these people, or to to expand your profession?
Well, one of the direction is that I try to travel more, because traveling is it's not just about money and earning. It's about meeting other people, meeting other professional doms, meeting the community, getting new knowledge, playing with more advanced equipment, because there are some dungeons in Europe that have really expensive, great equipment and gear, like heavy latex and all of this. And I cannot afford this kind of stuff here. So for me, traveling is like growing professionally. This is one direction. Another direction is that I always invest a lot into the new equipment. So this gives me another way of developing, because again, if I buy some new expensive toy, of course I'm learning how to play with it. I'm expanding my offer. I do a lot of new things, you know. So that's another direction that I'm doing. So that's probably two things.
Yeah, and I know, because as you were saying in the beginning, you have a lot of different spaces in your studio. And so you have to put them into a special kind of environment. And I know that can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you use in those different areas? I know you have like electricity, medical play. Can you say something about those investments in new ideas to torture people?
Well, some of this is actually very pleasant. It's actually very funny when I say, on the procession negotiation, I say, what about electrostimulation? Like, no electricity. I said, it's actually not electroshock. It's actually very pleasant in the low level.
There are levels,
Yeah, and you remember I was trying on you, and it's actually like a vibration, right? It's like a vibration inside of the body. It's really fun. I love to play with electricity.
Because it goes through the body, right? You put something here, and it goes through the body.
Yeah. So electricity is one of the things that I like. Well, as I said, I have so many stuff, so I cannot even say that, okay, this is what I always do. For example, I really like impact play, flogging, and I was learning from really good people that really know what they're doing, and I'm buying really, really good floggers with genuine lessons from a great master. And I was even giving workshop here on flogging. So this is one of my specialties, I think. People really not expect that it feels this way. They think flogger is something very painful, but it's not. It's more a hypnotic thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
so another question here. Alicia asks if there's more men, women, or couples looking for your services.
Well, of course, mostly men. I also had like a few women that came to me. When I play with women, I really love the sessions, but I tend to see less power dynamics and more treating them as bottoms, you know. I do some practices and some sensorial stuff, blogging, and sometimes they can be very masochistic. But with men, I feel I have the right to dominate them, you know. I kind of like, I'm empowered to dominate them. And women, I feel I'm more at the same level with them. So for me, it's a little bit difficult to like completely dominate them from above, like I do with them.
Yeah. And another, Rita asks, how long does the session last in average?
It depends. There's problems with the sound.
Maybe this way will be better. I don't know why there is a noise. You don't hear
the noise?
No, I don't feel the noise.
Okay, maybe it's just. So usually the session that I do, I have about 2 hours. Minimum is 1 hour. Sometimes I have really long sessions, like several hours. I had a few cases when I did overnight. So it depends on the request.
Okay. I don't know if you want to say anything more about your work, to how people can contact you. What's the
main way to contact me and to meet me is my site. So there are so many fakes on the social networks. People are stealing my photos, they create profiles, they start writing messages and asking for money. So I never do this. Always start contacting me through the site. There is an application form. On the site also I have a lot of information about what I offer, how I offer, why, and all the process. Everything is written. So that's it. And on my social networks, the links from them is better take from the site. On my social networks, I can share my photos from the sessions. I share feedback from clients. So that's how we can meet me.
Okay, very good. So I think I asked all the questions that I had. I propose that all the people that will hear this and that were here today to follow your page, because it's really interesting, and you also show some photos of your sessions, so people have a little bit of inside of what you're doing and how they can also enjoy it. And for me, I also have I'm available to have sessions or consultations for singles or couples that want to know a little bit more about this kind of lifestyle and of practices. I'm not a professional dom as you are, but I can inform and send them to the right people for them to.
I remember you had really nice, funny videos on how to do this, how to do that. There was some interesting information given from me. There was something.
Yeah, I remember now. I yesterday I posted a list of BDSM related movies, and I had this question here. Do you think that the Shades of Grey did something good for BDSM, or it was just to mix the people's mind about it?
No, of course, yeah, it is a very shitty movie. Never make your opinion about BDSM on this movie. There are so many more that it's much better. I do not really remember the names. What comes to my mind, it was really true to life, this Korean movie. I don't really remember the name, but it was very recent, I think, in Netflix. And that was really true to life, how the fandom dynamics is developing inside the couple. That was very, very good stuff.
I think it's Leash and I don't know.
Yes,
I think I'll put it in
something like that. Yeah. This movie, I remember that when I was watching it, it was very similar to how I started. It was very similar. The only thing that I did not like there, and this is a very important point, is that a submissive there was shown as the weak person. He was weak in life. And this is very, very far from true, because usually there's no any correlation. You can be sexually submissive, and in life you can be very strong, successful, great career, everything great with the family. It's just your orientation, So that moment was wrong. But all other stuff, like how a woman was developing into a dominatrix, was brilliantly done.
It's in Netflix, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
Hope we talk some more and meet some more, some more times. You're going to do the event on mid-July, right?
Yes, it's the first time because Stone Academy is not going to happen this year. So we agreed that I will do a fandom event in the same place. I created some new concepts that we never did before. There will be host doms, there will be other professional doms that are invited, and there will be great prizes. I'm going to give lesser vloggers a gift, so there will be something interesting, I hope.
Amazing. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone that was here today with us. And I hope we can talk some more times. And if people want to experience BDSM, they should definitely give you a call or a message. For everyone that's interested in listening to these episodes, they are available here in YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. And never forget that it's only sensual if it's consensual.
True.